My name is Clara, and I'm 40 years old. I teach third grade in a quiet suburb just outside of Pittsburgh, a life that has always felt orderly and predictable. I suppose that's how I would have described myself until recently. Orderly, predictable, and content in my routines. It was a life I had built and cherished. The predictable rhythm of the school year, the quiet evenings at home, the familiar faces in our small community. It was all a source of deep comfort. My days, once a soothing blend of teaching and quiet domesticity, now stretch into long, hollow evenings. The night shift lifestyle that seems to suit some people is alien to me. I am a creature of the sun, and the hours between dusk and dawn have become a stark reminder of my solitude. I live alone now, in the same cozy house where I raised my son, a home that once echoed with laughter and now feels cavernously empty. It's a lovely place with a garden I've tended for 2 decades, but the silence inside can be deafening. The small kitchen, the comfortable living room, the empty chair across from mine at the dinner table. These are the things that have space to let my mind wander into lonely territory when the nights grow too quiet. Most of my friends, all coupled up and busy with their own families, express surprise that I'm managing so well. But the truth is, I'm not. I'm simply keeping to myself. I find a fragile shield in routine, something that feels safe and steady in a world that has been completely upended. I don't have many close confidants left, but I have my son, Daniel, who has been the unwavering center of my world since the day he was born. Daniel is 22, a whirlwind of energy and charisma, the absolute inverse of his quiet, steady friend. He thrives on social interaction and excitement, always the center of attention, making people laugh with an effortless charm. People often comment on the unlikely friendship between him and Leo, but somehow their dynamic makes perfect sense. They are 2 halves of a whole. Daniel coaxes Leo out of his shell, and Leo provides the calm, grounding force that keeps my son from flying too close to the sun. Daniel still lives at home while finishing his degree, a presence that keeps the house from feeling completely deserted. His best friend, Leo, lives a few blocks away in the same neighborhood we've always known. I've known Leo for years, watching him grow from a lanky teenager into a quiet, serious young man. He's always possessed a gentle, unassuming nature, a quiet strength that is both rare and deeply admirable. He works the late shift at the local gas station and convenience store, a job that seems to suit his reserved temperament. Recently, my life was fractured by a painful divorce. Daniel found out one evening after he and Leo had been spending the night playing video games in the basement. I remember the look of quiet sorrow in his eyes when he later spoke to me about my loneliness, how much he worried about me navigating this new, solitary existence. He didn't have to elaborate. I knew he saw the change in me too. Before, I would always greet the boys with a bright smile and an offer of snacks. But lately, my smiles felt forced. The warmth in my voice was muted by a persistent, underlying sadness. I would occasionally see Leo at the store when I was picking up groceries or a quick meal for one. He was always polite, always graceful in his quiet way, but I knew he must have noticed how tired I looked. Tonight was no different, or so I believed at the beginning. I walked into the convenience store, the electronic bell above the door chiming its soft, familiar tune. I was wearing a simple blouse and jeans, my long brown hair pulled back in a loose knot, with stray strands framing my face. I knew I looked exhausted. The reflection in the glass door had confirmed it. My usually bright eyes were shadowed with fatigue. Yet, there was something about the calm atmosphere of the late-night store that felt like a brief respite. "Hi, Leo," I greeted him, my voice quieter than I intended but warm despite my weariness. "Evening, Clara," he replied, offering me a gentle smile that reached his kind eyes. "A late night for you," I sighed softly, grabbing a small plastic basket. "Just needed a few things. It has been an incredibly long day. How's your shift treating you?" "Same as always," he answered, his voice low and steady, mostly quiet. I nodded, moving through the aisles to pick up a few essentials. Snacks for Daniel, a carton of milk, and a bottle of red wine for myself. At the counter, I placed my items down and managed a faint smile as he began to scan them. "Daniel talks about you a lot, you know," I mentioned, feeling a need to fill the quiet space between us. I dug into my purse for my wallet. He really values having a friend like you in his life. He gave a small shrug, a hint of a blush creeping up his neck, but he looked pleased. "Daniel's a great friend. I'm lucky to have him too." I hesitated, my hand pausing as I held my credit card. "He is lucky," I said, my voice softer than I expected. "It's so important to have someone reliable in your corner. Sometimes I wish—" My words trailed away, and I shook my head slightly, cutting off a thought too personal to share with my son's friend. He didn't push, just handed me the receipt with a gentle nod. "Take care, Clara," he said, his tone full of genuine sincerity. "Try to get some rest." I offered another smile, this one feeling a little less forced, more genuine. "I'll do my best. Thanks, Leo." As I stepped back out into the cool night, the bell chiming behind me, I disappeared into the darkness. I stood by my car for a moment, a subtle ache in my chest, wishing I could do more to ease the quiet loneliness that had become my constant companion. I pushed the feeling aside and started the drive home. About halfway there, just as I was leaving the well-lit suburban streets for the darker country road that led to my house, the engine sputtered. Around midnight, my car coughed, lurched, and then died completely, rolling to a silent stop on the side of the road. A wave of pure panic washed over me. I tried the ignition again and again, but it was useless. My phone was in my purse. I picked it up, my hands trembling, and scrolled through my contacts. Daniel was out with friends. My ex-husband was the last person I wanted to call. Then my eyes landed on a recent number. I had given Leo a call last week about Daniel's schedule. Without another thought, I pressed the screen. A surge of guilt and embarrassment hit me. "Leo," I said, my voice shaking when he answered, concern immediately evident in his tone. "Clara." His voice came through the phone, steady and calm. "I'm so incredibly sorry to bother you so late, but my car has broken down and I'm stranded on a road just outside of town. I didn't know who else I could possibly call." The vulnerability and fear I heard in my own voice made my heart race. My own voice. "Clara." My voice was trembling, fragile and anxious as it traveled through the phone. "I'm so incredibly sorry to bother you so late, but my car has broken down and I'm stranded on a road just outside of town. I didn't know who else I could possibly call." The raw fear in my tone felt humiliating. My heart was pounding uncomfortably against my ribs. I had never sounded so distressed, so completely helpless. I had always prided myself on my composure and self-reliance, never wanting to be a burden on anyone. Yet here I was, asking this young man, my son's friend, for help. "Don't worry, Clara," he assured me instantly, his voice a balm to my frayed nerves. I could hear shuffling in the background, the jingle of keys. "I'll be there as soon as I can. Stay inside your car. Make sure the doors are locked. I'll find you." "Thank you," I whispered, relief flooding through me so intensely it almost made me dizzy, though my voice still shook with lingering unease. "Please hurry." "I'm on my way now," he told me, his tone firm and deeply reassuring. "You're going to be okay." After we hung up, I locked the doors and huddled in the driver's seat, wrapping my arms around myself. The darkness outside felt absolute, pressing in on the car from all sides. My heart pounded, a chaotic mix of fear for my situation and a strange, protective gratitude for Leo surging through me. I never imagined I'd be in this position, never thought I, of all people, would need him like this. But as I sat there, Waiting in the oppressive silence of the stalled car on a deserted country road, I knew that everything was on the verge of changing. The roads were completely empty, the suburban houses dark and silent behind their drawn curtains. I imagined Leo in his old pickup truck, his hands gripping the steering wheel as he sped down the winding back road. My own shaky voice echoed in my ears, each trembling word I had spoken to him now a source of deep embarrassment. I had never allowed myself to be so vulnerable, so frightened in front of anyone. My heart beat faster with each passing minute, a desperate prayer for his arrival. After what felt like an eternity but was probably only 15 tense minutes, the warm glow of headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. The dim outline of Leo's truck became clear as he pulled up behind my car. My breath hitched in my throat as I saw him slow down, the faint flicker of my hazard lights illuminating his concerned face. But something else seized my attention. Another figure, tall and broad, was looming menacingly close to my driver's side window. A jolt of pure terror shot through me as Leo parked his truck hastily and jumped out. As he approached, the scene crystallized. I was pressed against my car door, visibly shaken, arms folded protectively over my chest. Facing me was a man who reeked of alcohol, his posture aggressive and unsteady. "Come on now, sweetheart," the stranger was slurring, leaning closer to the glass. "I'm just trying to offer a little help. It's a dangerous road out here for a pretty lady all alone, you know." My voice trembled, quiet but firm, as I spoke through the closed window. "I'm fine, thank you. My friend is on his way right now." "Oh, is that right?" He chuckled, a dark, menacing sound that made my skin crawl. He stepped even closer, his hand reaching out to try the door handle. "Well, I don't see anyone else around here, do you?" Without a moment's hesitation, Leo closed the distance between them, his voice ringing out, clear and authoritative in the night air. "Hey, you need to step away from her now." The man spun around, startled by the sudden appearance of another person, his bloodshot eyes narrowing as he sized Leo up. "You mind your own business, kid. Me and the lady are just having a friendly conversation." Leo held his gaze, his jaw tight with a quiet determination that was startling to witness. "It doesn't look very friendly to me. She asked you to leave her alone, so I suggest you do exactly that." The man staggered back a step, clearly annoyed by Leo's interference, but also visibly weighing his options. For a tense, suffocating moment, the silence between the two men felt thick and explosive. Finally, after what seemed like an age, he muttered something foul under his breath, cursed loudly, and stumbled away toward a beat-up truck parked further down the road. Only after the truck's red taillights had disappeared into the darkness did I allow myself to relax, and even then, only slightly. Turning my full attention to Leo, who now stood by my window, I could feel how badly shaken I was. My eyes glistened with tears I refused to let fall, and my entire body was trembling uncontrollably, my arms wrapped tightly around myself, as if to hold my splintering composure together. "Clara?" He spoke softly, his voice gentle as he tapped on the glass. I unlocked the door. He kept a respectful distance, sensing I might be overwhelmed. "You're safe now. It's okay." My voice cracked when I finally managed to reply, the words catching in my throat. "Thank you, Leo. I honestly don't know what would have happened if you hadn't shown up right then." Gently, he placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, the warmth of it seeping through my blouse. "You're not alone anymore. I'm here now, and I promise I won't leave until you're safe and sound at home." I managed a weak, watery smile, his words a lifeline in the swirling fear. I nodded gratefully. After making sure I was steady on my feet, he turned his attention to my car. Opening the hood and examining the engine with a flashlight from his truck, it quickly became apparent that there was nothing to be done tonight. The issue looked serious enough to require a professional mechanic. "Your car isn't going anywhere tonight," he informed me, closing the hood with a quiet thud. "Let me give you a ride home. I can help you arrange for a tow truck in the morning." I hesitated for only a brief moment before nodding silently. I guided her gently toward my pickup, opening the passenger door and helping her inside. As I settled into the driver's seat, the silence felt heavy, punctuated only by her soft breathing. The road stretched ahead, dark and quiet, as we began our journey home. After several minutes passed in that heavy silence, I finally broke it, my voice soft but clear. I really didn't mean to cause you so much trouble tonight. Settled into the passenger seat of his truck, the silence felt heavy and thick, punctuated only by my own soft, ragged breaths. The road stretched out before us, dark and quiet as we started the journey back to my house. After several long minutes, I felt I had to speak, to break the tension. I really didn't mean to cause you all this trouble tonight, I said, my voice still a little shaky. I'm so sorry for dragging you into this mess. He glanced over at me, my profile softly illuminated by the dashboard lights and the occasional passing streetlight. For the first time, I truly noticed the quiet strength that lay just beneath his gentle exterior. You didn't drag me into anything, he assured me, his tone warm and sincere. I'm just glad you called me. I would never have forgiven myself if something had happened to you out there. I managed a small smile, feeling the knot of tension in my shoulders begin to ease just a little. Ever since the divorce, I found myself confessing, the words spilling out into the safe, quiet space of his truck. I feel like I've lost a part of myself, like I'm not as strong or as independent as I used to be. Tonight just hammered home how truly alone I am. You're not alone, Clara, he responded firmly, his eyes fixed on the road, but his voice filled with an undeniable sincerity that touched me deeply. Daniel cares about you more than anything, and I do too. I turned slightly to look at him, surprise flickering across my face before it melted into something softer, warmer. Thank you, Leo, I whispered. That means more than you know to hear that. A comfortable silence settled over us again, but this time it felt different, gentle and companionable, not heavy and awkward. As we drew closer to my neighborhood, I felt a strange tightness in my chest. Something profound had shifted between us tonight. A line had been quietly crossed, though I wasn't sure what it meant or where it could possibly lead. Pulling into my driveway, he parked the truck and glanced over at me. I felt calmer now, my eyes softer but still reflective, holding a depth of emotion I couldn't quite put a name to. I hesitated for a moment before turning to him. Would you like to come in for a cup of tea? I asked softly, my voice a mixture of deep gratitude and a gentle vulnerability I rarely showed. It's the very least I can do to thank you. My own heart fluttered as I extended the invitation, a warmth spreading through my chest. Yet, as I watched him consider it, I could see a flicker of caution in his eyes, a silent reminder of the complicated emotions still hanging in the air between us, of the careful boundaries we had always respected. Thanks, Clara, but I should probably head home, he replied gently, his refusal cushioned with kindness. You've been through more than enough tonight. You should get some rest. I nodded slowly, a wave of both understanding and appreciation washing over me. You're right. Thank you again, Leo, for everything. Anytime, he replied, with such simple honesty that it made my heart ache a little. I watched as she stepped out of the truck, heading up the path toward her house. I stayed parked for a few moments longer, making sure she was safely inside before starting my engine and driving away into the quiet night. As I headed home, the night's events replayed vividly. The fear in Clara's eyes, her vulnerability, and the quiet intimacy that had. I walked up the path toward my front door, intensely aware of his eyes on me. I stayed parked for a few moments, ensuring I was safely inside before the sound of his engine starting broke the silence. He drove away into the quiet night. As I stood in my darkened hallway, The night's events replayed in my mind with vivid, jarring clarity. The raw fear that had seized me, my own vulnerability that I had laid bare, and the quiet, unexpected intimacy that had developed between us. For the first time, I saw him clearly, not just as Daniel's kind, quiet friend, not just as a polite young man from the convenience store, but as a man, honorable and protective, with a gentle strength that was deeply appealing. Tonight had changed something fundamental between us, though I had no idea what it could possibly mean. All I knew for certain was that I could no longer see Leo in the same way. And deep down, a part of me I hadn't acknowledged in years didn't want to. In the days that followed that intense, terrifying night, I found my thoughts drifting to Leo far more often than I ever intended. Each moment replayed in my mind with cinematic clarity. The frightened look I must have had in my eyes, the tremble in my voice over the phone, and the quiet, sincere way he had looked at me when he left me safely at my home. Something had undeniably shifted, a subtle realignment of the universe I shared with him, though I wasn't ready to admit to myself what it truly meant. Leo must have sensed it as well, because our paths began to cross more regularly. Sometimes I would find a reason to stop at the store for simple items like milk, eggs, or bread, but often it felt like I was manufacturing an excuse just to see him. Our conversations at the checkout counter grew longer, drifting away from polite, ordinary pleasantries into deeper, more personal territories. One quiet night when the store was completely empty, I found myself lingering longer than usual, leaning gently against the counter as he restocked cigarettes. "Leo," I began softly, a hesitant smile playing on my lips. "I just wanted to thank you properly again. You really didn't have to come and help me that night, but you did, without a second thought." "It really wasn't anything special," he said quietly, and I saw a warmth rise in his cheeks. Anyone would have done the same thing. "No," I said firmly, shaking my head slightly. "They wouldn't. Trust me. Not everyone would drop everything they're doing to rescue a woman stranded on a dark road in the middle of the night." He looked down for a moment, clearly a little embarrassed by my praise. "I couldn't have just left you out there by yourself." I smiled warmly, my eyes softening. "That's exactly what makes you different. You're always there when people need you, quietly helping without ever asking for anything in return." His words lingered in the quiet air between us, and I felt my heart quicken its pace. "It's not hard to be there for you," he admitted quietly, the honest confession slipping out before he could catch it. I looked at him thoughtfully, my eyes holding his for longer than was strictly necessary. Neither of us spoke, yet we both sensed that something important and unspoken had just passed between us. In the following days, our interactions became even more frequent. He started visiting my house regularly, working on my broken-down car in the driveway after his shifts ended, and I found myself cherishing the casual, comfortable conversations that flowed so effortlessly between us. We spoke about our lives. I told him about my experiences as a teacher, the funny things my students said that made me laugh, and the challenging ones that tested my patience. In return, he shared with me his modest hopes for the future, his dreams of one day opening a small auto repair shop, of finding stability and a quiet sense of purpose in his life. Despite these comfortable and easy exchanges, a strange and palpable tension lingered in the air, an unspoken awareness that our relationship was quietly shifting, crossing boundaries we had both carefully maintained for years. It felt both thrilling and terrifying, a gentle current of excitement running beneath every quiet conversation and every lingering glance. Eventually, my car was fully repaired and running smoothly again. Leo offered to drop it off at my house one evening after his shift. When he arrived, dark, ominous clouds had gathered overhead, heavy and bruised-looking with rain. He parked my car carefully in the driveway and knocked softly on my front door to let me know he was there. I opened the door, smiling warmly. "Leo, thank you so much. I can't possibly tell you how much I appreciate everything you've done for me." It was no trouble at all, he assured me, stepping back slightly as a low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. I should probably get going before this storm really hits. Almost as if on cue, the sky opened up, unleashing a torrential downpour that soaked the ground in mere seconds. I laughed softly, shaking my head. I don't think you're going anywhere right now. Please, come inside until it calms down. Reluctantly, but looking secretly pleased, he stepped inside. My house felt warm and comforting, the faint scent of lavender and old books filling the air. I led him to the cozy kitchen, and soon we were sitting at my small table with steaming cups of hot tea, listening to the rhythmic, soothing sound of rain drumming against the windowpane. Our conversation flowed naturally, turning gradually deeper and more honest than ever before. I opened up about my profound loneliness since the divorce, admitting quietly how difficult it had been to adapt to life alone after 20 years of marriage. Sometimes I don't even recognize myself anymore, I confessed softly, my gaze fixed on my teacup. I look in the mirror, and all I see is a woman who feels older, less attractive, and more invisible with each passing day. His vulnerability touched something deep inside of me. Without thinking, I spoke my thoughts aloud, my voice gentle but firm. Clara, you're anything but invisible. You're still incredibly beautiful and attractive in every single way that matters. She looked up, startled, her eyes wide with surprise, and older, less attractive, more invisible every day. My own vulnerability hung in the air, raw and exposed. His response touched something deep within me, a part of me that had felt dormant for years. Without even thinking, he spoke his thoughts aloud, his voice gentle but firm with conviction. Clara, you're anything but invisible. You're still incredibly beautiful and attractive in every single way that truly matters. I looked up, startled, my eyes wide with surprise and a fragile flicker of hope. My voice shook slightly when I finally responded. Do you really mean that? Yes, he affirmed, with a quiet sincerity that made my heartbeat quicken. I've always thought so, even before all of this happened. A soft blush rose in my cheeks, and I glanced away, smiling shyly. Leo, you don't have to say that just to be kind. I'm not being kind, he replied, his voice gentle but confident. I genuinely mean every word. For a long moment, the only sound in the kitchen was the steady, rhythmic patter of rain against the windows. The intimacy of the moment hung in the air around us, intense yet incredibly fragile, like a delicate bubble that could burst if either of us made a wrong move. Finally, I broke the charged silence, my voice soft yet clear. It's strange, isn't it? I've known you since you and Daniel were just kids running around this neighborhood, yet somehow, talking to you now, like this, makes me feel more understood than I have in years. I feel the same way, he admitted quietly, and I could see the pulse beating in his neck. I never, ever expected to feel like this around you. I smiled gently, my eyes glistening with a soft, unshed emotion. It's confusing, but it's also comforting. You've made me feel safe and appreciated again, and I truly didn't think anyone ever could. As the rain slowly began to ease to a drizzle, I realized it was time for him to leave, though a very large part of me desperately wished he could stay. He seemed to sense my hesitation, smiling gently as we both stood and moved toward the front door. At the threshold, I paused, looking up at him. Thank you, Leo, for tonight, for everything. He smiled back softly, fighting the urge, I could tell, to say more. Anytime, Clara. You deserve to have someone who sees you for who you truly are. I nodded quietly, the understanding that passed between us in that moment more profound than any words could convey. Drive safely. Stepping outside into the fresh, damp, clean-smelling night air, He felt a mix of confusion and warmth. Something undeniable had happened tonight, something neither of us could ignore. The lines we'd carefully preserved had blurred, leaving us both uncertain yet undeniably drawn closer. As I climbed into my truck, my mind swirled with thoughts of Clara. The softness in her voice, the vulnerability in her eyes. I knew I could no longer deny the feelings growing within me. Though I was uncertain where this path would lead, I knew one thing clearly. I cared deeply about Clara, and whatever this was becoming, I was ready to embrace it. In the days that followed that rainy evening, I found I could no longer deny the powerful feelings growing within me. Though I was completely uncertain where this unexpected path would lead, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I cared deeply for Leo, and whatever this was becoming between us, I was ready to embrace it. In the days that followed that rainy evening, I found myself trapped in a labyrinth of conflicting emotions. Every quiet moment alone brought thoughts of him flooding back. The softness in his eyes when he looked at me, the quiet strength in his voice, and the profound warmth of our conversations. Yet, each time these feelings rose to the surface, a dark shadow of doubt followed close behind. Leo wasn't just any man. He was Daniel's best friend. Crossing this line could jeopardize one of the few relationships that truly mattered in my life. So, with a heavy heart, I began to distance myself. I stopped finding excuses to visit the store. I made sure to be out of the house when I knew he might be coming by to see Daniel. Each time I actively avoided him, a sharp pang of guilt gnawed at me, a dull ache that grew stronger and more persistent every day. But the overwhelming fear of jeopardizing my relationship with my son outweighed everything else. Leo must have sensed the change in my behavior. The few times our paths did cross, I noticed the flicker of confusion in his eyes, and the quiet hurt that shadowed his face when our conversations felt clipped and more distant than before. It pained me more than I could say, yet I couldn't find the courage to explain my withdrawal. Instead, I tried to convince myself that, given enough time and space, these intense feelings would eventually fade and things would return to the way they were. But deep down, in the most honest part of my heart, I knew I was only fooling myself. Late one evening, just as he was preparing to close up for the night, the bell above the door chimed softly. His heart skipped a beat as he looked up and saw me standing hesitantly at the entrance, my gentle eyes filled with a painful uncertainty. "Clara," he said softly, clearly surprised, yet unable to hide the wave of relief that washed over his face at seeing me again. "I didn't expect to see you here tonight." I stepped closer, my voice calm but tinged with a sadness I couldn't conceal. "Leo, can we talk for a minute?" He hesitated briefly before giving a small nod, walking to the door and flipping the open sign to closed. The store suddenly felt unnaturally quiet, the air thick with unspoken words, as we stood facing each other across the empty space. "Is everything okay?" he asked gently, though I could tell he already sensed what I had come to say. I sighed softly, folding my arms protectively around myself, as if for protection. "No, Leo. Everything is not okay. You've been avoiding me, and I need to know why." His chest tightened painfully as he looked away, struggling to find the right words. "Clara, I'm so sorry. It's not that I wanted to hurt you. I just thought it was for the best." "Leo, everything isn't okay. You've been avoiding me, and I need to know why." My chest tightened with a painful mix of anxiety and resolve as I watched him look away, struggling to find the right words. "Clara, I'm sorry. It's not that I wanted to hurt you. I thought it was for the best." I moved closer, my eyes searching his, desperate for some kind of understanding. The best for whom? Because it certainly hasn't felt like the best for me. "Please, just be honest with me." He swallowed hard, the truth heavy on his tongue, but the sincerity in my eyes seemed to give him the strength to finally speak. "It's because of how I feel about you," he confessed quietly, his gaze finally meeting mine. "I've been trying to deny it, to push it all away because I don't want to ruin things. Not with Daniel, not between us. But the truth is, Clara, I can't stop thinking about you. My eyes widened slightly, then softened, filling with a quiet, profound emotion as I stepped even closer to him. "Leo, you're not the only one who has been struggling. I've felt it too. This connection between us. It's something I never expected or understood at first. But it's real. I've felt its absence every single day you've been away, and it has been tearing me apart." I watched him, surprised by my own honesty, my heart racing in my chest. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice low. "I mean, I'm Daniel's best friend, Clara. If we actually pursue this, we risk everything." I nodded slowly, my gaze unwavering. "I know all the risks, but we're both adults, Leo. Daniel is important to both of us, and I would never, ever want to hurt him. And yet, ignoring what we feel for each other doesn't seem fair to us either, does it?" He shook his head slowly, acknowledging the truth in my words. "No, it doesn't. But what about everyone else? The age difference. What people in this town might say." I reached out, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "That worries me too, more than you could possibly know. But I've spent so much of my life trying to please other people, worrying about what everyone else thinks. After the divorce, I felt like I had lost myself completely. Meeting you, really seeing you for who you are, reminded me that I deserve to be happy too. That we both do." His touch sent a current of warmth coursing through me, and the sincerity in my words seemed to resonate deeply within him. He took a deep breath, finally accepting the truth he had been trying so desperately to suppress. "You're right, Clara. I can't deny my feelings for you anymore. I care about you so deeply, and the last thing in the world I want is to lose you." A gentle, relieved smile spread across his face, illuminating his eyes softly in the fluorescent light of the store. "Then maybe we don't have to rush into anything," I suggested. "Maybe we can just take things slowly. Give ourselves the time to understand what all of this really means." He nodded, a visible wave of relief washing over him. "Slowly sounds good. I want us to do this the right way." I squeezed his arm gently, my eyes sparkling warmly. "Me too. I want us both to be absolutely sure, every single step of the way." We stood there in the quiet store for a long moment, our shared understanding bringing a new sense of calm to the uncertain air between us. It felt right, honest, and true. A quiet promise of a possibility that neither of us wanted to rush or spoil. Finally, I stepped back slightly, my expression soft and contented. "I should let you finish closing up the store now. It's getting late." He smiled warmly, nodding. "Let me walk you to your car." Outside, beneath the gentle amber glow of the streetlights, we walked slowly, comfortably close, but still respectful of the careful boundaries we had silently agreed upon. When we reached my car, I turned to him, my eyes bright with a hope and newfound peace I hadn't felt in years. "We don't have to figure everything out tonight, Leo," I said softly. "What matters most is that we're being honest with ourselves and with each other." "I couldn't agree more," he replied sincerely, looking lighter and happier than he had in weeks. I reached for my car door, pausing for a moment to look up at him with a soft, radiant smile. "We don't have to rush, Leo, but thank you for showing me that I'm not alone." As I drove away, I stood quietly, watching until her taillights disappeared around the corner. Despite all the uncertainties, doubts, and fears, tonight had brought clarity, a gentle certainty that felt like a warm promise rather than an obligation. Turning back toward the store, I felt calmness settle within me. Clara and I had chosen honesty and patience. We had chosen a quiet, mature love, one that would grow naturally, thoughtfully at a pace that suited both our lives. The future remained unknown, but I felt hopeful for the first time in a long while, because no matter what happened next, Clara and I had discovered something beautiful and true, something we were both willing to cherish, protect, and patiently explore together. The story of Leo and I teaches a profound lesson about the power of compassion and the courage to act when someone is in need. Leo, living his quiet, routine life, demonstrates that heroism isn't always about grand, sweeping gestures, but about the simple act of showing up in the face of danger, as he did when he protected me from that threatening stranger. My own vulnerability after my divorce and the sheer terror I felt during that harrowing night on the road remind us all how life's challenges can leave us feeling invisible, broken, or utterly alone. Yet Leo's unwavering presence, driving through the dark night, standing up for me without hesitation, and offering his quiet, unconditional support, helped me begin to rediscover my own worth and my own strength. Our evolving connection, built upon a foundation of honest conversations and deep mutual respect, underscores that true care means seeing someone's pain and choosing to stay by their side, even when the situation is complicated. This story is a reminder that we all deserve to feel safe, seen, and valued. And sometimes, a single act of selfless kindness can spark a deeper bond that has the power to heal old, deep wounds. It challenges all of us to be there for others, to truly listen, and to act with courage and compassion when it matters the most. Have you ever had a moment when someone's kindness fundamentally changed your perspective on life? Share your own story in the comments below. We would love to hear how an act of compassion made a real difference in your life. If the journey Leo and I are on has moved you, please hit that subscribe button and join our community for more heartfelt stories that inspire hope and connection. Let's celebrate the small, profound moments that remind us why it is so important to show up for each other.